Hey, good day to you, and welcome to RFD Illinois on a Saturday. I'm Rita Frazier.
I'm DeLoss Yankee, and over here, check in with you, Vine, please.
Mr. D.
Agrivisor,
Dr.
Senior
Doom.
Analyst, Dr. Doom, Dale Dirkles.
Yeah,
after the markets we've had, they feel like, probably out there, feel like Dr. Doom, too.
Well, if we're just looking at recent forecasts, especially looking at May, which looks favorable for planting, is that more doom then for corn and soybeans, do you think?
Not necessarily, because it depends on how it comes. And the reason I say that, you got enough moisture in the soil a lot of places now. So if you get light showers, you're going to push people out of the field as it is. But maybe the bigger story is going to be U.S. and China.
Mm-hmm. We'll have a couple minutes of a recap later in the show. But here's the real question, Dale. What kind of fruit will you be eating on this Saturday?
I had grapes, seeded grapes, no less.
Oh.
Seeded?
Oh, yeah, they're big.
They still do that?
They're big and juicy and actually not good. You just have to spit seeds out. And the other thing I had were some clementines. In midwinter, clementines were horrible. They were dry. They were shrivelly. They didn't look good at all. About a month ago, clementines, we started to get in the Tangelos, too. They're really good and really juicy.
Clementines are back.
We're back, baby.
What about
your local produce department?
Next up on the list, I'm waiting for midsummer so I can have some Rainier cherries.
No, yeah. You've bragged about that many times.
Will stick with the meat and potatoes.
Yes, I will. Thank you very much.
Markets and weather all coming your way on this edition of RFD Illinois.
RFD Radio Network's Jim Taylor connects rural routes for you. You can trust Jim every morning for your overnight markets. He gets up early to help keep farmers on top of their game. Here's a bit about his rural routes.
I have the opportunity to cover something different every day and provide listeners with up-to-date markets, news they need to do their job and be successful, from legislative issues to crop updates and weather, of course.
Be it routes or routes, RFD Radio, FarmWeekNow.com, and Farm Week keep you connected.
It's where your home is built, your landscape is planted, and your children play. Land is all around us, so Illinois farmers have dedicated years to learning how to best care for it. Today, we're bridging modern knowledge with resources from Mother Nature to promote natural soil activity and choosing crops that enhance soil health. To learn more about conservation efforts, visit ilfarmersconserve.com. Preserving our water, protecting our land, providing our food.
This message brought to you by Illinois Farm Bureau.
Welcome back. Joining us in Washington, D.C., our RFD correspondent, Matt Kay, as we approach Easter here. And, so much in the news and so much talking about trade. Being in D.C., hopefully you hear a little bit more than we hear back here. But just the notion of China and the U.S. about a breakthrough, do we really see prospects for something coming within the next month or two?
Well, yeah. I think the signs are positive. I don't think folks would be as optimistic as they were hearing it from both sides, but we're hearing it from Chinese officials as well as the U.S. Trade Representative and President Trump that a deal may be happening very soon. We've seen statements by China's trade and foreign ministry officials that they are making significant progress in the talks. And if that's the case, and if key issues like enforceability and a mechanism to achieve that have happened, then the signs are definitely good. And that's exactly what we're hearing, that there is agreement on some of these long-time difficult issues that were stopping the achievement of a breakthrough. Now we're understanding that U.S. and China are planning two final rounds, they hope, of face-to-face meetings, which could wrap up a trade deal sometime in late May or early June. The U.S. Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer is set to travel to Beijing at the end of this month, and then China's trade envoy would be coming to Washington in early May. So keep your fingers crossed. We may have a deal, and that would be extremely good for U.S. agriculture. That's what we're hearing from USDA Secretary Sonny Perdue. A lot of folks are suffering, as you know, the loss from these long-term tariffs on U.S. Soybeans, pork, and other commodities that have cut deeply into U.S. exports. So there's a lot of anticipation and hope that we will see a breakthrough.
Let's see, how much hope do we have for USMCA? Because we have tariffs to consider, and we have the political gamesmanship to consider in there.
Yeah, we also have elections coming up in
yeah.
Canada, so you got a short window there, and the signs look, well, mixed, I would say is the best word to put on it. The good news is that the U.S. International Trade Commission has just issued its economic impact report, which was key for any movement, because you need that report before the White House sends up the implementing language to Capitol Hill. The report talks about the economic benefits of USMCA, including implementing rules and fair practices, reducing non-tariff barriers, making updates to rules on intellectual property, currency practices, state-owned enterprises, and other things like sanitary and phytosanitary measures that are important for agriculture. The downside of all this is the political landscape. It looks complicated. Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House, has said now on a couple of occasions that the deal is not satisfactory in her view because it doesn't do enough on protecting labor and environmental standards, and she is saying no deal until Mexico changes its laws to improve statutes on those fronts. We talked to a number of folks in town who have some hopefulness that the Mexicans will, under a new president, make changes to their labor standards. As you know, you can't change the agreement once it's done. This was negotiated under fast-track rules that allow just up or down votes in the House or and Senate. So you have to approve it without amendments, and it I guess will be dependent on what happens in the next few months, and certainly what happens with any side language relating to Mexico and Canada. But keep your fingers crossed, because this is a very important agreement for agriculture and a lot of folks who do not want to see any harm come to North American trade.
All right. Well, happy Easter to you, Matt. Thanks so much, and I'm sure we'll talk to you pretty soon.
Thanks so much, DeLoss.
Matt Kay in D.C. on RFD, Illinois.
You're going to need me.
You're going to need us.
All of us.
You're going to need our help with your water, your air, your food.
You're going to need our determination, our compassion.
You're going to need the next generation of leaders to face the challenges the future will bring.
And we promise we'll be there when you need us.
Today, 4-H is growing the next generation of leaders. Support us at 4h.org.
Hello, I'm Trooper Teal at the Illinois State Police. Since January 1st, 15 Illinois State Police officers have been hit as a result of failure to reduce speed and move over into the other lane. 2 of those officers sadly lost their lives. April is Distracted Driving Awareness Month. Be part of the solution. Put your phone down, focus on your drive, pay attention to the road, move over, slow down, just drive.
A message from the Illinois Farm Bureau and the Illinois State Police.
This is Let's Talk Horses on the RFD Radio Network. I'm Jason Vance. Joining us again today is Gene Stewart, a horse trainer and judge. Last time we talked about ranch riding and ranch horse classes. Today we're going to expand on that and talk a little bit about some of the classes that are offered at horse shows as far as ranch classes are concerned. Gene, what are some of the classes that are classified as ranch classes at horse shows?
At most horse shows, as far as breed association goes, the ranch riding is a class that is being offered, as well as I know some breed associations in the near future are going to have the ranch trail, plus adding a rail class aspect to this. At many of your regular ranch associations, the gamut is large. We have classes from conformation, clear to the working cow horse, the ranch cutting, the ranch roping, and many different aspects of working cattle as far as classes go. Plus, in those ranch associations, you'll have the reining and the ranch reining and rail classes as well as the trail.
As far as what those classes entail, give us a few more details about the different classes and what they require.
In the conformation, we want a horse that is a well-balanced, adequately muscled individual with great structural correctness. We want that horse that is going to be used on the ranch and be able to hold up to a ranch life. Moving to, say, the rail classes that are in the ranch horse shows, you'll walk and trot them and extend the lope and extend the trot. We want to see a horse that is ground covering but moves balanced across the ground, that is a comfort to ride, and a very well-broke individual that we're going to be able to ride all day.
Now, you also talked about some of the classes that deal with working cattle or roping, and that's, I'm sure, a little bit different. Kind of talk to us a little bit about how these ranch classes of those things differ from the other versions.
In a lot of your associations, you'll have the ranch reining. Let's say, for instance, we want a horse that is responsive and is quick-footed like we do a regular reiner, but maybe that doesn't have to go down and slide 30 or 40 feet and really stop hard, but has a nice soft stop that is getting in the ground good, plus a turnaround that is very adequate and very responsive. The circles, they don't have to be as blazing of speed as some of our reiners are today. It can be a horse that is more responsive as far as looking through the bridle and going forward and just changing speeds at an adequate pace. As far as like our cattle stuff is concerned, in a lot of your ranch associations, we have the ranch cutting, which is, a deal where we actually work one cow. We separate one cow out of a herd of 15 to 30 head of cattle. We work that cow for an adequate amount of time, showing responsiveness in front of that cow, those horses, and being able to take that horse down to a pen and actually pin that cow at the other end of the arena. It's very similar to AQHA or Appaloosa or Paints. It gives them another place to go show as well. We want those horses to be a lot like the horses that are at those NRCHA classes, and that's what we're mostly seeing.
Which, if someone is interested in getting into ranch classes and ranch riding, what advice do you have for people who really have an interest in this?
Just find somebody in your local area that is a responsible individual that you trust, and talk to them. And if they're in the ranch horse business at all, as far as going and showing them, they're going to be able to lead you in the right direction. There's so many different classes. We talked a little bit about the rail classes and conformation classes. Don't think you have to go chase a cow the first time you go to a ranch horse show. You can get involved and build up to that. And I think it's a great thing for the industry, because we're building those riders to become responsible riders, as far as they don't just jump into those certain events really quickly. They can build themselves up to the cow working classes and give themselves a place to go to and challenge them.
Well, Gene, thank you so much for joining us.
You bet. Thank you.
That's Gene Stewart, a horse trainer and judge. He's been our guest on Let's Talk Horses on the RFD Radio Network. Thank you so much for listening, and please tune in next time for another edition of Let's Talk Horses.
Hello, America, and welcome to the Ag Resource Livestock Market Watch. I'm Nathan Losey with Ag Resource Company in Chicago. Ag Resource offers daily market updates via email, which feature all the latest market news along with short and long-term price forecasts. Our reports feature in-depth coverage of livestock, grain, and oilseed markets, and also comprehensive farm marketing advice, so you can spend less time worrying about the markets and more time focused on your farm or ranch. Go to agresource.com, where you can get your first month subscription for just $1. It was a quieter week of trade in the hog market, with spring and summer futures continuing to consolidate recent gains. May hogs were down slightly for the week, but still finished more than $8 over the cash market. The lean hog index continued its rally and gained nearly $1.30 through the week. The strongest gains through the week were in late 2019 and 2020 hog contracts as the market continues to roll premiums to deep deferred contracts. However, the China demand is slowly building with another large weekly export sales figure reported, and the export pace is currently more than 3 times higher than a year ago. Given Chinese inventory figures, production rates should begin falling sharply this summer. A trade deal and a removal of Chinese tariffs on U.S. pork would likely open a floodgate of Chinese demand. Cattle futures were well supported through the holiday shortened trading week and marked good weekly gains at Thursday's close. Funds remain bullish as CME livestocks on expectations of the coming demand from China, and the week's cash market generally traded higher. Initial trade in the South was underway by midweek, with cattle selling $2 higher at $126. Cattle feeders in the North held out for higher prices later in the week, and initial sales in the North were reported at $130 or 2 to 3 higher for the week. The outlook going forward is quite mixed. Cattle supplies are near record large heading into the summer, which argues for a more bearish outlook on strong rallies, but strong Chinese demand for U.S. pork would likely help lift beef and other meat prices. Until next time, I'm Nathan Losey, and thanks for listening this week to the AgResource Livestock Market Watch.
This is RFD Illinois on a Saturday as we break for markets and weather.
For University of Illinois Extension, I'm Todd Gleason. The weather is next.
From the State Climatologist Office for the Illinois State Water Survey at the University of Illinois Prairie Research Institute, this is Brian Kirshner. This past weekend, a strong low-pressure system brought a rare and accumulating late-season snowfall to portions of the state. By Sunday evening, the most significant snow impacts ran along a corridor extending from near Quincy and running northeast toward Chicago and the Wisconsin border. Widespread reports of 1 to 5 inches of snow were common, with localities in DeKalb and McHenry counties recording over 8 inches. With 5.4 inches reported at O'Hare Airport, this event became the snowiest April 14th and tied the record for the largest Chicago snow event this late in the season. The snow was short-lived as statewide temperatures quickly rebounded into the 70s by midweek, with the exception of some northern locations directly along the lake that only reached into the 50s. Flood watches and warnings were issued on Thursday for portions of southern and eastern Illinois as several additional inches of rain fell on already saturated soils. After an unseasonably cool Friday, we can expect a return to spring-like temperatures and drier conditions for the remainder of the weekend, with the next chance for showers and storms arriving early next week. Looking ahead, the 6 to 10-day outlook from the Climate Prediction Center is favoring moderate probabilities of above-average temperatures and slight probabilities for above-average precipitation across the entire state. This is Brian Kirshner from the State Climatologist Office.
And I'm Todd Gleason for ULI Extension. You have a great and a very safe week.
Check the markets with Dale Dirkholz, Senior Analyst at AgriVisor. No markets Friday, a down week last week, but how about looking ahead? Any reason for optimism for next week?
Well, I think everybody next week coming in Monday is going to really take a hard look at the weather again. We had some rain right at the end of this week. Weekend weather actually is going to be pretty good, but as we step in the door on Monday, trading will start Sunday night again. Everybody's going to be going, okay, what's the weather for this week look like now? Because first to the middle part of the week next week, there is rain in the forecast. They'll also be looking at some of those longer range indicators or longer range forecasts at the same time. Corn planting, we really haven't gotten underway, and, it's gotten a little talk. It's not really critical at this point yet. We're not a lot different in terms of planting than where we were a year ago at this particular juncture in time. We'd started slow. Actually, last year was the slowest we'd had in 5 years, and look at it. We still ended up with 176 plus bushel yield with corn, So, the planting pace is important, but it's still, how fast do we get it in the ground? But just as important, what's the back end of the growing season going to be like? That really has a lot of play in the mix. So I think weather is going to be the big thing. Everybody will also be looking, although it won't happen much over the weekend because of the Easter holiday. What kind of news are we dealing with China? As we learned, as we wrapped up this week, we got a couple of meetings set up last of April, 1st of May, and everybody's thinking now, this thing's going to be wrapped up and signed by the end of May, so that's going to be the other thing you'll know.
Dale Dirkholz, SunAgrivisor.
This is the week's Best of Leader page from the Illinois Farm Bureau. I'm Rachel Torbert. President Donald Trump Monday said he believed the U.S. would emerge from its trade dispute with China as a winner no matter what happened. We're going to win either way, Trump said during a visit to a business roundtable in Minnesota. We either win by getting a deal or we win by not getting a deal. The EU is ready to start talks on a trade agreement with the U.S. and aims to conclude a deal before year-end, according to the European Trade Commissioner. The EU approved 2 areas of negotiation but left out ag, leaving the 28-country bloc at odds with Washington, which has insisted on including farm products in the talks. The U.S. and China are planning 2 rounds of face-to-face meetings as they try to wrap up a trade deal, with negotiators aiming for a signing ceremony in late May or early June. Under the tentative schedule, USTR Robert Lighthizer is set to travel to Beijing the week of April 29th, with Chinese envoy Yo He coming to Washington the week of May 6th. President Donald Trump's job approval rating increased over the past month to 45%, up from 39% in March. This marks the 3rd time Trump has reached a 45% job approval rating in Gallup Trends. U.S. Census data released Thursday showed the population in every one of Illinois' metro areas declined in the past year. The Chicago area reported the largest decrease in the nation, shrinking by an estimated 22,068 people. Other areas that saw population losses include Decatur, Springfield, Carbondale, Rockford, Bloomington-Normal, and Danville. This is the first time such a population decline has been documented. The EU Wednesday unveiled a list of U.S. agricultural goods being considered for $12 billion in tariffs, retaliation for the U.S. failing to remove subsidies on Boeing aircraft. The move comes a week after the U.S. threatened to increase tariffs on $11 billion in European products in retaliation for the EU giving subsidies to French aircraft manufacturer Airbus. That's the Best of Leader page for this week. You can receive an electronic version of Leader page Monday through Friday. Just go to farmweeknow.com, click the banner, and sign up to receive the farmweeknow.com daily update, which contains the daily edition of the Illinois Farm Bureau Leader page.
That is all the time we have for this edition of RFD Illinois. Thanks for spending time with us.
We always salute a community.
We do.
Dale Dirkholz is here from... Mount Pulaski.
Mount Pulaski. I go out. There's a cemetery south of town by Bojack Seed Corn of all things.
Ooh.
I go back 8 generations.
Wow. You learn a lot of history.
I'm telling you.
Mount Pulaski. Sponsored by Country Financial. Your farm is your family's legacy and part of your hometown heritage. While you work sun up to sundown to get the job done, we're here protecting the things you love every step of the way. Country Financial. Learn more at countrycrop.com.
I'm Rita Frazier.
I'm DeLoss Yonke.
I'm Dr. Doom.
Have a good weekend, everybody.